Hey guys. It's been a minute since I got on here. Well, I made a couple videos, but I just didn't upload them. There was not much to talk about. So anyway, my name's Marisa. If you're new here, if you're returning, welcome back. So I've been driving around town, getting more familiar with driving the last couple of days, which I feel so much better about that. And I think it was just the wave of being in a new place and the overwhelmingness of like, Lord, are we really doing this again? And the crazy traffic, but also not knowing where you're going in the crazy traffic is makes me super anxious too. So I've just spent a couple of days practicing my driving and getting more familiar. Now I'm calm again, centered again, and I feel much better. And I don't know, the last couple of days I've also been, I think the realization of being here is starting to sink in. Cause I swear the first week it was like, am I really in New York City right now? And I'm still kind of like that too. Like, am I really here? But, I will say, like, I don't hate it as much as I thought I would. I mean, there's so much of it that I don't like, the noise for one, and the traffic for two, but and the people are kind of rude, but there's just there's this peace I have of knowing that I'm supposed to be here and that God's with me. And so, I don't know, I'm just trying to find all the good things that I like about it and focus on those. And that's all we can do is find the good, find the goodness in whatever situation that we're in, because if we look at all the negative, that's what we're going to see is negative. So, I will say that since the realization of being here and me calming down and trying to center myself in the Lord again and hear his voice, the past couple of days have been hard. Like, it's been a hard fight of my faith, right? I've been battling because I already told you my faith was weak to begin with. Like, it was like, okay, Lord, my faith is weak, but I trust you. And if you want me to do this, let's go, so it's purely obedience at this point. But the last couple of days, I was wrestling with my faith because, when I went to LA, I didn't look at giants around me. I was like standing on the word of God and quoting verses and not looking at giants. And I can't say that's true this time, like the impossibility of, the size miracle that I need right now is so big. It's hard not to notice it. It's hard not to like think about the giant miracle that is needed at this moment in my life. And so, what is he going to do? And that was my realization. I think it was yesterday or this morning was just like the miracle size needed is so big. There is nothing on God's green earth that I, in my own strength or even a little bit, can do to remedy the situation. And so I have to release all of it to him and just be like, Lord, this was your idea. You handle this. You know what I mean? I'm here, but like everything is above my pay grade at this point. Everything is in his hands, and once I kind of had that prayer of surrender to, yeah, I'm completely helpless and I'm like a little baby that needs my father to come and take care of me. Once I laid it all down, I had peace again. But I was really getting in my own head because when you walk the streets of New York, like you just in Brooklyn, Brooklyn's not even Manhattan, but like I went to Manhattan this week and, the enormity of it, you can walk a few blocks and it feels like you've walked an eternity. And it's like, no, this is just one tiny neighborhood in this vast, and it's so small. That's what's so crazy. It's because it's a small little place, but you would think it's like an entire realm on its own, it is absolutely it boggles the mind. Right. And so when you're in a place like this and the cost of living is so high and what's needed, like you start looking at at real life issues, right? Like, for instance, I had these videos that popped up on my news feed because, you know, when you watch something, then other ones in that same category will kind of, like, the suggested videos will come up. And so I had watched this video when I was doing research about where the best places to car camp were in New York City. And they were all like Brooklyn. So I was like, okay, well, let's go to Brooklyn. Well, the same guy makes all these videos about New York City and the housing crisis and the immigrant crisis and all this stuff, and like the violence and the shoplifting, and he just makes all these videos. Cost of living, he goes and looks at apartments and tells you like the breakdown of the cost to like move into a New York City apartment, and like how to he makes all kinds of videos about New York City and the subway and how dangerous it is. And I had watched like 4 or 5 of these before I was like, I have to stop watching these. Because when you start looking at the breakdown of these things that he's talking about, it's like, man, this is an impossible place to live. Who can afford $10,000 to move into an apartment? Because with the first month's, last month's security, and then the fees you have to pay it was like, how does one even get housing here? Like, I don't even understand all this. And then I was going to take a subway the other day. I was just going to go practice riding the subway. Well, the day I was going to go practice it was the day I saw his subway video and all the violence and people not paying to get on the subway. And I was like, I have a perfectly good car. There's no need to risk my life. I will just teach myself how to drive. I just was like, but I'm at the same time, I'm trying not to be fearful, but I don't want to get raped on a subway. Like, I just don't, like, I'm okay, you know, I have a car. Nobody can hurt me in here, hopefully, you know? So I had to stop watching his videos, needless to say, but his videos were causing me to start worrying about things that are way out of my control anyway. When God took me to LA, I walked the streets for 3 months, right? 98 days. And then he opened the door with Pastor Phil in Anaheim. When I moved into Pastor Phil's house, I cleaned his house every day for him. And, you know, I lived there rent free for 8-9 months, you know, and I just cleaned his house and went everywhere and helped him with the ministry stuff. That's all he asked of me, you know, and God worked out everything, you know, my food. We all had you know, we'd pitch together and buy groceries and cook with each other in the house, you know, share food with each other, you know, very communal living, and I never went hungry. And then I got a job for the mayor, or the former mayor. I don't know what she was, y'all. Anyway, for her battered women's shelter. And I got paid $20 an hour while I slept. Like, plus my day, like my normal pay was $20 an hour, but I got paid to sleep as well. So like, I'm living in this house and I'm getting paid while I sleep. That's crazy. Only God could have opened up a door like that. And I just divine encountered met her, and she offered me the job. I didn't even fill out a job application. I never even filled out a job application for that job. And I also got to help her with a huge project for the state of California for homelessness. So like, God does these things, right? And that's what I had to sit here and remind myself of all the things that God's done for me. Because when you're facing the giants, or you don't want to give God a bad report, right, of the giants in the land. And the only way to counter that is to focus on all the miracles that he's done in the past, and won't he do it again? And even more so, he can do anything. I mean, it's God. I could be living in the top of Trump Tower next week if it's up to him, you know. So what am I worried about, you know? And so I just had to have a come to Jesus meeting, and so I love Psalms 106 and 107 because the psalm is recounting all of God's miracles, right? All of God's miracles for the children of Israel as they wandered, from the time he took them out of Egypt, and they parted the Red Sea, and all their giant slaying and all this stuff, and he fed them and manna from the heavens, and, you know, helped them defeat all their enemies. So Psalms 106, 107, it's my favorite Psalms. And there's a couple of verses that always stand out to me, and I always recite them when I'm like battling my faith. One of the verses is, he will come through for you for his own namesake, for his own, not because of who you are and you're, none of that. For his own reputation, he will come through for you. I quote this every time my faith is struggling. He just for his own reputation, he will come through for you. And then there's another verse in there, and he does this so that all unrighteousness shuts its mouth. And I love that because, when you're walking by faith and you're doing extreme things and people are mocking you and criticizing and all that stuff, which last time was way worse than this time, but I'm sure that my haters are out there. They've just learned how to be quiet now. That verse, it says, like, he comes through for you so that all unrighteousness will shut its mouth. He loves to silence the accuser. He loves to silence the mockers, the scorners, the scoffers. He loves to silence your critics. He loves to silence unrighteousness, because faith pleases God. It's the only thing that pleases God. And so when you're believing him and you trust him, he loves to come through for you so that he can silence the mockers and the scoffers. He loves to vindicate someone who is putting their trust wholeheartedly in the Lord, right? It's one of his, he loves our faith, and he loves to silence our enemies, right, for us. Like, we don't have to do it. We don't have to say, "Oh, in your face." No. The miracle that comes from your obedience, that right there will silence all critics. I promise you, because the warfare I had last time, none of those people that had so many opinions dare to make an opinion now, right? Because they know they've watched God come through for me in a mighty, mighty way. And so over and over again. And so that's what I'm saying. I have to quote these verses a lot when I'm, because you have to know that, like, our job is faith and obedience. I believe you and I'll do it. Because you have to have faith and obedience. Faith without works is dead. It's one thing to believe. Demons believe and tremble, but they don't do. You have to have the belief and the doing. And if your belief is low, still be obedient. Obedience is better than sacrifice. The mystery is you only sacrifice when you're disobedient. So if you're obedient, you don't have to sacrifice. There is no sacrifice. God loves obedience, quick obedience. And so faith is action, is belief and action, which is obedience. And he loves to reward those who diligently seek him, right? He loves to reward faith, but there is a caveat. That faith is going to, it's hard. I know there's some things that are instant, like I believe God, and maybe early on in my walk, I would believe God for something and instantly it would come through. But that was only because the Lord was building my faith. When your faith is built, believe me when I say that there's a gap between the getting the word, getting the promise, and the fulfillment thereof. And so that in between time is the testing of that faith, the fiery trial that is proving that faith, that because it's like, yes, God said, but it doesn't come to fruition immediately. It hardly ever does, especially the bigger the promise, the longer the wait. And so some things are instant because God knows how much we can bear, right? And some trials are longer because there's a work he's doing in us to get us to a place of surrender, to get us to a place of to quit kicking against the goads, a place of stripping off the old season. And so each trial is going to be different because last time I was stubborn, and so he had to break my stubbornness, and I was self-willed, and he had to break that and make me realize that apart from him, I can do nothing, right? So this time around, nope, super weak. I know I need him for every single thing. So we're not battling those tests, those trials in this gap of say the word and then it comes to fruition. Now, me and the Lord, we're going through a different thing, which I'll elaborate on later. But I will say there's always something there's a work being done in your heart. And hopefully it's not going to be the same work every single time. That means you're not growing, right? So usually it's going to be something different according to what you need at the time, right? And a lot of it has to do with stripping away the old season and getting rid of the old mindset so you can embrace the new, and so leaving one thing in the fulfillment of the next, there's a gap so that you can get prepared for what you're walking into. And so that's just part of it. But there's other things that he's doing as well. And it's going to be different for every season that you're in, because hopefully you're growing and you're not staying the same. If you're repeating the same tests, the same trials over and over and for years at a time, that means you haven't learned the lesson. That is, there's no reason you should be repeating the first grade year after year after year, and you can drive your car to the first grade because you're like old enough to drive. That doesn't even make sense, So hopefully we're getting different lessons every year, so that means we're growing, we're learning, But you'll be surprised at how many people are 16 in the first grade, like Billy Madison, like driving to kindergarten, you know what I mean? So what I'm saying is, as long as you're growing and not regressing or not stuck in a pattern, then yeah, you should have a different trial every season. But the past couple of days, I've been just the realization. I think the adrenaline had worn off, and then the realization started to set in. And then I started looking at my surroundings, and I was like, oh Lord, what have we gotten ourselves into this time? And I had to just go take a break and tune everything out for a few days and just sit with him and face that doubt that was in my mind and my heart of all the things that were, all the things that were coming at me, of things out of my control that only he can take care of, so the size of my miracle that I need right now is so big. That's how I realized that, oh no, he has to save me, because if he doesn't, I'm gonna die. Like literally, we're coming on winter. I'm sleeping in my car, like limited gas, limited groceries, no heater. Like the Lord has to do something, or I'm gonna die. Like that's what's on the chopping block, so I had to stop and just remind myself of all the wonderful things he's done for me, and all the times he's come through in a mighty way with an outstretched arm and a mighty hand. And I had to recount all the stories of all the wonderful things and remind myself of who my God is and how small and incapable I am. Because I didn't do any of those things for me. I didn't save me out of the lion's den or out of the fire. I didn't part any sea in my life. Every time something good is happening, it was him that did it. And I had to just sit here and remind myself, Marisa, you are not your savior, and there's nothing you can do at this point except trust the Lord. And so once I came to that conclusion, I was better. So it just took me a couple days to get a handle on myself. So, but driving around, I'll be a FedEx delivery driver by the week's out. No, God forbid. Driving around, we're good. Getting my bearings of not talking to strangers just because I want to, because they don't like that. We're gotta just, some people you can be nice to. There was a girl at McDonald's this morning. She was so nice, and we just had a whole come to Jesus meeting, and she was glowing with Jesus. And I was just like, oh, so that brightened my day. So when you see another believer, because it's like, oh, you just know that the other person is a believer just by they're not mean, they're not hateful like everybody else. And so it's just and people like that are so rare that when you do find one, you're just overjoyed that you just found another Christian. That's what this place is like. And so I'm still not down with the night driving yet. I'm still just not ready for it. I'm just not prepared. Plus it gets dark so early, and I am just worn out because I still wake up at 4:00 every morning. So by the time evening comes, I am wiped, and I wanted to go to the church service the other night, but I was just like, nah, I might not make it. I don't know how I'm going to figure that one out, but I know I need to go. So, but, anyway, we'll just do what we can. Baby steps, baby steps. So anyway, that was my past couple days. I think we're all caught up. And yeah, I'll try to update you. I don't know if I can do this every day. I don't know if I can update you every day because I don't like to just come on and just tell you about my day without, like, especially if I'm going through something I haven't quite worked it out yet. You know, I like to give testimonies. I don't like to just give updates on, like, you know, what I ate for breakfast. You know what I mean? So we'll see if I can do it if God does something every day, I'll testify every day. But if he doesn't, I just don't know if I can make a video every day. But I thank the people who have continued to pray for me, to support me, I would have been dead a week ago or longer, 3 weeks ago, if it wasn't for y'all helping me out and praying for me and just sending me encouraging emails and encouraging comments. And oh my gosh, I'm telling you, like, your encouragement means the world. And yeah, so I will try to update when something amazing happens. You know, that's all I can do. But I mean, when God does, everything God does is amazing. That's why I say that. A cyber truck just passed me, and they are so ugly. Why do people want to spend their money on it? I don't know. Anyway, squirrel. So, I just moved over to a new part of town. I did do that, and it's like this area of town where a bunch of commercial buses and van lifers park. So I haven't met anyone out here, but it's super quiet, and that's why I came over here. But the Planet Fitness is a 15-minute drive, or 10 to 15 minutes, depending on traffic, drive from here. So that kind of stinks. But I'm really digging the no traffic over here in this little region of town because it is nice and quiet. I mean, the other place I had was nice too, but this is extra quiet, and it almost feels like a normal place, a normal town. And so, yeah, I might stay over here for a minute, check it out. Anyway, talk to you guys soon. Later.